When we come back, child prodigies. What are they, and is there one in your home? We'll talk about it, but first, this is Today on NBC. We're back now at 8:38, and this morning we're kicking off a special series that we're calling today's Wonder Kids. Everyone loves to brag about their children, and most of us think they've got special talents. But what does it really mean to be a child prodigy?
9,204.
Wonder Kid, genius, whiz kid, just some of the terms used when describing child prodigies. But what is a prodigy, and how does it differ from a gifted child?
Picasso.
All kids have gifts. They have marvelous gifts. But we know that only about 5% of the population is truly gifted.
Now, can you do your tea?
Defined as a child usually under age 10 who has mastered one or more skills or arts and who's performing at the level of a highly trained adult in a demanding field or endeavor. Einstein was one, so were Mozart and Picasso. So how can you tell if your child possesses the qualities of a true prodigy?
He seems to have almost photographic memory.
She's reading on about a 4th or 5th grade level. By the time she was 2.5, she knew all the planets, she knew all of their moons.
I'm going to see if I can trick you.
Okay.
All right.
Hope you can.
I don't know.
But finding the resources where your child's gifts can blossom may be difficult. Here at the Early Childhood Accelerated program in Kansas, children are admitted as early as age 3. Their talents are fostered, but what happens when they enter mainstream schools?
Giftedness can be lost. It's often lost in middle school. It's often lost in adulthood. If you take one away from them.
And for parents, it's a struggle deciding whether to push ahead or keep them with their social peers.
I was surprised at some of the resistance that we got from friends that said, you know, you're just going to single her out and make her the nerd and make her the geek by putting her in a special school.
There's such a stigma attached to the word gifted that I'm almost embarrassed to utter it in public.
Australia is one.
Advanced children thrive with academic stimulation, and when they're interested, they have fun.
When I was 2 years old, I was simply, I just love the addition. I can do quattro-digit math. I can do double-digit math. I can do 3 math problems.
Is your child the next Doogie Howser or Little Man Tate? Only time will tell.
Bobby, high five. Good job.
Hal Runkel is a licensed marriage and family therapist and best-selling author of Screamfree Parenting, the revolutionary approach to raising your kids by keeping your cool. Couldn't we all do that? Hal, good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Is a prodigy always tied to a high IQ?
Not necessarily, no. High IQ can be, but prodigy can also be in areas that aren't necessarily correlated with intelligence testing. So sometimes we call a prodigy.
So it's not necessarily a genius. It's something completely different.
It's just one area of their life which certainly excels dramatically and begins to perform at an adult level, like Tiger Woods began to perform at an adult level with golf.
All right, which brings up a good point. You know what's happening at home right now. You got people watching this, and the parents are saying, wait a second, my little boy can throw a baseball better than any kid in the neighborhood, or our little girl started playing chopsticks on the piano at 1.5 years. Is there a test that separates just advanced kids from prodigies?
I hope not.
No? Why?
No, because in the hands of parents out there, then they can buy this test and then say, my kid's a prodigy, and then what it does is just feed all of our anxieties and hopes that we're not doing enough. We've got enough messages like that in our society. It's saying you're not doing enough to foster your kid in this great environment, not realizing that if you give in to that anxiety, you're creating an environment that creates so much pressure on that kid that now the environment is actually helping them fail and hate learning because all they receive from their parents is, you're gifted, you're gifted, you're gifted, you're not applying yourself more.
One of the other things I think it's important to keep in mind here, just because your child may have a skill that he or she can perform at the level of a trained adult, doesn't mean their maturity level is anything other than a 6-year-old child.
One aspect of their development is accelerated, but that doesn't mean all the other aspects. They may be accelerated with their intelligence, but it doesn't mean socially, doesn't mean emotionally, doesn't mean mature, overall maturity-wise. So I have a lot of red flags when I
You seem very uncomfortable with this.
I'm uncomfortable with it because I do want to give kids what they need to be stimulated, but I don't want to rob them of their childhood with the name of giving them a leg up on all their peers. Because what's the real goal? What are we looking for with a child?
Well, I think a lot of parents out there are saying, wait a second, we've got this one skill area, we can make the most of it. This child can go on and become very successful.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a proper equation.
Well, it all depends on how you define success, too. Do you want them to just be successful in that one area, or do you want them to be a well-rounded person, right? So, yes, find an area. They're gifted in math, so let's find an area to stimulate them. Go to your local psychologist, have them tested, right? Go to a center that stimulates them math, but still keep them among their peers socially, keep them playing at sports at the same levels of their other peers, right? Don't say this gift is actually a curse that's going to rob you of your childhood.
Because they have an abnormal skill, don't make them abnormal in life.
Well put.
Hal Runkel.
Yes.
Hal, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And tomorrow on today's Wonder Kids, we'll meet a science prodigy. But up next, the lessons couples can learn from infidelity. But first, this is Today on NBC.